What's up, everybody? This is Matt Brown with another IoT hacking video. Today we have a Verizon Fios ONT device that we're going to be taking apart over on our desk and trying to do some firmware extraction. I found this device in e-waste and thought it would be a fun hacking project. If you're new to this channel, my name is Matt Brown. I do this stuff for a living, find security vulnerabilities in IoT devices, and on this channel, we like to have some fun and reverse engineer these devices and see how they tick. So let's go over to the workbench and open this up and take a look. So I have done a little bit of pre-work on this device, and so I have opened it up. So you can see here that we do have the Verizon Fios label there. And if we open up this compartment, and this thing has seen some life, we will see this is like the user accessible piece of this device. And we can see that it's made by Tel Labs, and we see that on the PCB as well. So I'm just going to throw this over here, and we're going to ignore all of whatever diseases I'm going to get from breathing in whatever that junk is on this plastic. So that's on the floor. All right. So yeah, again, we see this Tel Labs logo. That's probably the producer of this device. I'm not too familiar with ONT devices. This is going to be the first that I look at. And to be upfront with you, I did some other work on this device, powering it on, and I was not able to find any kind of UART signals on any of these jumpers. So my overall plan in this video is to find the flash storage and dump firmware off of it. So on this device, we have the main CPU, its memory, and the flash storage right here. So we're gonna zoom in a little bit on the microscope here. Oh no. Before we do that, so yeah, I mean these devices are cool because if you're not familiar with an ONT device, what it does effectively, I'm no expert in these devices, is if you have fiber internet, so here is where you would connect up to, an optical connection, transmits light information through the fiber line. And then this little box of magic, this is why this is like a class 1 laser product. I don't know if that's, a serious thing or not, but inside of here, magic happens and it turns the light into, digital data that then can be, you can access via Ethernet. Right? That all computers know how to connect up to and have data. So that's the very, very high level of what this device is supposed to do. But yeah, let's look at the microscope now. So like I said, I pretty much immediately identified what I want to be interested in. So here's the main CPU. Below it, we have some RAM. And then above it, we have this 56-pin TSOP flash chip. And so what I'm going to do is I actually want to get this stinking fiber line out of the way because I don't want to like melt it or anything. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use some hot air and we are going to extract this chip off of here. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to get some tweezers. And I want to get this stupid like tape off of here, which is kind of interesting. That's just my hot air station heating up. Yeah, there's some interesting identifier on here. That is not super important, but that is like a sticker that's stuck on there, which is interesting. That might be something they do when they, produce the device to say like, hey, we have officially, it might be some kind of a marker to be like, hey, we flashed the firmware, it's good to go. There we go. Get that all in focus for you guys. So, like I said, this is a 56-pin flash chip, and we can read the identifier here. This is a Spansion S29GL128, so on. We can see the full model number of this flash chip. And what I always like to do before I pull off a flash chip, if I can, I like to look at my flash reader software and to see if I can actually perform the extraction. Because if I can't, well, then it doesn't make much sense pulling a chip off of a board if I don't have the right hardware to perform that extraction. So what we're going to do is I do have the full serial number of that chip copied on my computer here, and I'm just pasting it into this XG Pro software. This is the software that pairs up with the XGECU T56 Universal Programmer. This is a programmer that's made in China. It supports the widest possible range of any other device I've tested of different types of flash chips. And so we can see here that this same model is sold by Cypress, and then there's one by Spansion. I don't know, with companies, copy each other, or it's much more likely like a company gets bought and sold, and then so it gets sold under two different names. But here, I'm going to pick the one that matches the label. And so, and we even see that here it is identifying it as a TSOP 56 pin chip, which is perfect. So we're going to click that. And then even in here, it's gonna have some useful information that's sometimes accurate, sometimes it's not accurate. But in this case, it is. It's gonna tell us that we need this TOSP 56 pin adapter, and we need this little ISP connector. Let's go look at that on the desk for a minute. So, like I said, I just like to be extra sure that I have the right gear to read a chip before we pull it off the board, like we will in a minute. So here is the XGECU, T56, and here is that ISP connector that allows us to read one of those full-size chips. Because this adapter here, it can fit the full 56 pin chip, but it can also do the 48. Or I've never really seen any smaller than 48, but in theory, I think there are. And you just fill it in, and you leave space to one side. So that's our adapter. We're good to go. And now we can get back under the microscope, and we can target our chip right here. So I don't have any sensitive plastic components, and honestly, this device may just not work after. I may never get this device working properly, so I'm not too concerned about melting anything. But you know what? We can actually take this off. Let's do that. Actually, what I really don't want to do is I don't want to throw a bunch of heat and start melting this plastic, and have that give me some rare form of cancer. Right, so I'm just taking some screws out, and I think I can lift this off. Oh, awesome. Okay, there we go. Now we're not melting this gross plastic. So there we go. There's our chip, and we are going to get some gloves on. Everybody asks why we put gloves on. It's not so much about the solder, although that is a concern sometimes. It's mostly about this flux that I use. So this stuff is going to help this chip come off, and it is kind of disgusting, and I really don't want to get it on my hands, or yeah. So that is why I wear gloves, for the people who ask in the comments. All right, there we go. Let's go. Microscope time. We're back on our flash chip. Yeah, I mean, this piece of paper is definitely going to get burnt off, but I don't really care about that, but hey, there we go. Interesting. We can just take it off. Then we don't have to take it off later. All right, awesome. We are ready to go. So I got my hot air. I have some isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to throw a little bit of flux down here on the sides just to get things started. And I am going to turn on my air extraction so I don't have to breathe in these fumes. That's nice. All right. So now we are putting our hot air onto the chip. And I do expect that this might take a little while to begin with. You know what? Now that I think about it, with a chip this big, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of seed it with some good low temp lead-based solder. So we're going to do that first. that will really help pull it, because these devices a lot of times when they're made, they use lead-free solder in the manufacturing plant. It's probably a little cheaper. I don't know why, but oh gosh, this is terrible. We need more flux. I just want to drag solder over this. Come on, guys. There it is. And honestly, right now, I don't care if this is getting all bridged, because we're just trying to get some good solder on there. Okay, that was a much more effective drag. There we go. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay. There we go. Not my best work here. But let's go. Now we're gonna go hot air, and we're gonna get the tweezers ready. All right. And with a chip like this, you can sometimes do one side and lift it and then do the other side. So we're gonna kind of give that a shot today. There we go. We're getting nice and hot. Try to spread the heat around. Here we go. We're able to lift. Nice. All right. It's off. That chip is smoking. So even though right now I'm not going to put this chip back on in this video, this is just it's going to be a nice opportunity to clean up this area. So I'm just going to feed it with a bunch of, wow, this is like, my flux is not really working well for me today. All right. But I'm going to get some braid, and we're going to get this all cleaned up for science. All right. All right, I got some wick here. Here we go. Nice. Other side. Oh, come on. All right, we are clean. That's good. Now just a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on a Q-tip, and we'll get all that flux residue off of there. And it looks just nice and pretty now. Perfect. So if we wanted to put the chip back on, we could, but we're not going to worry about that too much today. We're going to set this to the side now. And we're going to bring our extracted chip front and center. And this, we really care about cleaning up. And the reason for that is because I try to avoid getting a bunch of flux on my reader and the sockets for the reader. I mean, inevitably it's going to get a little bit on it, but yeah, and this is always the hard part because I don't want to get the fibers of this Q-tip all stuck in here on the pins. go. All right, now let's flip this. There we go. Come on. All right, now I'm just gonna throw a little bit of hot air, we'll evaporate that. Now, I still need to now go at this with some of this wick along the side to get those globs of solder off. So the way I'm gonna do that, it's just like this. Especially right there. Very nice. Cool. Flip it around to the other side. Cool. I can already see I've jacked up some of these pin legs, so we're gonna have to let me cut this a little bit. So I'm already gonna have to like readjust and kind of bend back into place some of these pins. But we'll do that in a minute. All right, that looks good. Now, what we want to do, we're gonna turn off that air extraction because that's kind of annoying. All right, I'm gonna zoom in here, and then we need to focus. There we go. Looks good. Now we want to just go through here. Yeah, so right here I've kind of bent. Let's get even closer. There we go. So I've clearly bent this pin here. Oof. That's not ideal. There we go. Get it back to at least like to where we've got some daylight in between. Yeah, there's some solder in there. All right. Okay. Let's get that. There we go. Okay, and then this thing here. All right, let's get that fixed up. Nice. All right, check the other side, and I'm going to clean this up with some isopropyl alcohol. But it's not super pretty, but all right, let's go clean that up now. There we go. Not perfect, but it's looking a little better. All right, I'm gonna flip it around. Here we go. Yeah, let's go to the other side and do that again. Much better. All right, a little bit of hot air. Just gonna, again, evaporate all this isopropyl alcohol off of here as much as we can. Oh, geez, I got a bunch of fibers there. Try to get those off. Here we go. That looks okay. Not gonna say great. I'm gonna say it looks okay. All right, now what we're gonna do is now we're going to place this in our socket here. I'm actually gonna demonstrate this in the desk cam because this is a little bit easier just to show you. So here we have a pin 1 indicator here on the socket, and then on the chip itself we're going to see a dot up here in the upper left hand corner, and so those are going to match up. And so I'm going to kind of place it in there where it is about correct, and then I'm going to go into the microscope. Again, this is a very nice thing about the microscope. To not have to kind of second guess all this stuff, I can just get this back into focus here, and I can, yeah, we can zoom in, and we can press down on the socket, and we can make sure that it is all lined up. There we go, looks good on that side. Yeah, there we have like a blob of solder that is making it kind of not, you know what? I think it's gonna make connection just fine. What's going on over here? What is that? It's just some piece of debris. There we go. All right, that looks good. We'll give it a shot. So now that goes into here. Now there's also a pin 1 indicator on the chip, but there's also one on here to show you which orientation the socket goes in. So we unlock this guy on our T56 reader, and then we try to get these all to line up, and sometimes you just have to force this guy in. Come on. There we go. So lock that, and then again we have to connect up these other pins via this little ISP adapter. So make sure that it is on, which it is, and now we can come over here to our screen. And so here we're ready to go. Again, we've got the correct profile for the chip and everything pulled up, and so we should be able to simply go to device, read, and we cross our fingers, and we have a good sign. So if you're not familiar with these chip readers, first they do an ID check to check that it can like read back the serial number of, no, not the serial number, but this ID number here. And then it expects a certain ID number for a certain chip model. And if it doesn't get the right one, then it won't proceed with the reading of the rest of the firmware. But it proceeded, which is a good sign that everything is working well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and hit save. And then I have a location here, because we are running this on Linux under Wine, because the software is Windows only, and I don't believe these NAND flash chips work with the Mini Pro open source software for this reader, although I could be wrong about that. So, oh, come on. We're gonna delete all of that. I'm going to paste in where we are going to save this file. Now, this is always a good idea to do this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to read it again. And that's because sometimes there can be little errors if you don't have the chip, connected just right. Maybe if I didn't do a great job, cleaning the chip, I get some errors. And so what I do is I read it back again, and then I'm going to save it this time as firmware 2. And so, okay, we've saved it. We're good. So now let's come over to our terminal and let's take a look at those files. And all I'm going to do is write I'm going to take an MD5 sum of both of those, and it looks like our read was good. Never know when you're doing this live how that's going to go. So let's go ahead and delete firmware 2 because they were the same. In fact, the hash is matched. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at Binwalk. I have never looked at this before. This is the first time taking a chip off on this, and we don't see anything. So this is going to be a fun video if we find absolutely nothing in here. So let's go like this. So interesting stuff. Okay, we see some signs of, you know, maybe, okay, so maybe it's getting some GPG signatures. So on the new Binwalk, I'm using the -A flag after it didn't find anything with just the default options, and the -A flag like includes all signatures, including ones that are prone to false positives. So this is really interesting. So the first thing I'm wondering now is like, is this firmware encrypted? Is it like a microcontroller firmware that we don't really understand? Okay, let's see if there's any like, you know, like English recognizable strings in here. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, any like long strings. Let's see if there's any strings that are 20 characters. Okay, so here's some text that's clearly like, it's like garbled, right? So it's like, so interesting stuff. All right. Now what I want to do for this analysis, this could be a crapshoot of a video, is we're going to run it with a -E flag, which is going to do an entropy check on the firmware. And now let's go look at that entropy graph here. I think I can zoom that out. Okay, so what this is telling me is that it's probably not all encrypted. Maybe some of it is encrypted or just compressed. Again, with entropy analysis of a file, you usually can't tell the difference between compression and encryption because they're going to look the same at like a byte level entropy analysis perspective. So that is interesting. Okay, what is it saying there is here? All right. Yeah, that's yeah, this is pretty much a dead end, guys. So fun stuff. This is a 17 meg firmware file that may be encrypted in some proprietary way, or use some kind of you know, proprietary. Okay, let's just go for gold and do an extraction, and then let's see if it actually extracted anything. No, it didn't. Let's go ahead and do the -A flag. Okay. Oh, well, that's because, yeah. Okay, so we extracted all of those files. Again, we're using a lot of the signatures that are prone to false positives here. So let's see if there's anything, you know, actually interesting here. Okay, so decompress.bin. What is in that file? Okay, there's like a few bytes. Interesting. Okay. All right. Find grep decom xargs file. It's just data. Let's see. How big are these files? They're not big at all. Okay. So that's why I'm pretty sure this is all like false positive crap. All right. Cool. So we extracted the firmware. We found absolutely no file systems. Maybe it's not even running Linux. Who knows? Yeah. This is not where I expected this video to go, but this has happened sometimes when you're digging apart devices like this. So I'm probably going to have to go back to the drawing board, figure out like, do I expect this device to be running Linux, or yeah, is there some really proprietary, you know, microcontroller firmware format that this is built for? Thank you for watching this video. This is a total fail, but if you watched to the end, thank you very much and have a good day.